The subject of today's episode is a cavalcade of holiday horror, including the unsettling deaths of 3 children in the late 19th century and a horrifying Midwest murder spree in the early 1990s. Plus, we'll ask the question, what the hell is going on in Japan? And then end it all with the reading of a Yuletide classic, albeit altered slightly. And all with a very special guest. Today, we bring you Christmas Time True Crime Part 2. I'm Kevin Young.
And I'm Dan Dasher Hurrigan.
And I'm Phil Better, the podcast mogul. Back again,
He
baby.
did it on his own this time. And
Yeah,
this
I remember.
is torture.
Good work, Phil.
I remember this time. I was like, do I do it or do I not?
I have a bunch of different titles that I could have done. True Christmas, True Crime.
Oh, yeah.
Christmas Time True Crime. Here we go again. Christmas Time True Crime Judgment Day. The Bride of Christmas Time True Crime.
Personal.
This time it's personal.
Oh no, it's Christmas Time True Crime 2 Electric Boogaloo. This time it's personal.
Yeah.
Ooh, that one.
It's a bit too long, though, I think, sadly.
That's the point, Dan. That's the point.
I know. It's brilliant.
Christmas Time True Crime Wrath of Khan.
Khan!
Christmas! All right, before we get started, let me reintroduce you to our guest today, podcast host and producer of shows like Stock Dirty to Me, the 2021 winner of Best Business Podcast, Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, 2022 winner of the Best Business and Marketing Podcast, Money Grows on Trees, and The Phil Better Show, a man with 200-plus interviews with some of the most influential people in media and podcasting, the podcast mogul himself, Bonar the cock-stealing barbarian, and one of our favorite people in the whole fucking world, and probably our 6th or 7th favorite Canadian, Phil Better.
Thank you so much. That is a deep cut with the Bonar. That's a deep cut. My God.
It is. And it will be forever.
My favorite
Every
Bonar
time you come on this
thing
show,
is...
it will be Bonar.
Remember, his name kept changing. How Phil pronounced his own name throughout
Boner,
that changed every
Bonar,
single time.
Bonar.
Was Bonar. Yeah, Bonaire.
There was Bonaire. Yeah, Bonaire for a bit.
That's a D&D thing, I think. I think our listeners probably get it by now.
Yeah.
It's a D&D thing.
Well, like you said to you already, we're going to have to eventually organise a game of Torture D&D. So,
A couple of the patrons or some listeners spring on, and then us and Phil sit down, have a good old time.
yeah.
See if
great.
Keishla wants to come on. You know.
I hope like all your food cooked with penises in them.
No. There was no penises in it. He used the phallic containers for salt and spices.
Yes, please explain to everybody what I mean when I say Bonar the cock-stealing barbarian. Because nobody got the enjoyment. The whole thing fell apart before we ever got to put out anything.
It was a flaccid spice rack, Kevin. That's what it was. The most flaccid of all spice racks.
Bonar was a chef, and for some reason, he used to take the genitals of certain enemies and use them for spice containers for his cooking. And he would have to shake them to get them like a shake weight. Oh my god! To season the food in unique flavors. It's also a protective measure. No one's going to steal his spices if it looks like cock. So
it's true.
Unless you're brilliant at cocks, in which case,
unless you're in the
then they're going to have
accidentally get your spices by accident. One of the funniest things was when we were playing a game before, and Phil left, and so I had to take over for his character, and he rolled a nat 20 fighting a troll and beheaded it, and I got him to take the troll's penis, and
it's just this gigantic cock around his necklace.
Sadly we didn't get to go much further than that though, but yeah.
Oh god.
So add that to your inventory now, Phil. Write out your character sheet. One troll penis. It's a bit old now. It's a couple of years old. But anyway. So yeah.
I don't know.
It
caught us off guard then. It still catches me off guard now.
I know. That's the reason why.
It was the most purely random thing.
To be fair, I may have been under the influence when I came up with that idea.
I bet you were.
Yeah, we were nervous of the fan art if we were to ever release anything as well.
Oh, God. I was waiting for the fan art.
All right, Dan, since you got two, we'll let you go ahead and do one of yours.
Okay.
And then we'll hit Phil can give us
what's up with the Japanese?
Trust me, I'm going in. Usually I know exactly what we're covering because I'm the one who, does the work. I kind of know what Dan's covering. I didn't read into it too much because I wanted him to tell the story for me to be surprised. I have no fucking clue what Phil is going to talk about other than Japanese game shows.
I was going to say, well, I've just opened up Crunchyroll here now on the side, so curveball, motherfuckers. Here we go. Sword Art Online.
Dad's doing the Japanese.
Sword Art Online.
Right, well then, if y'all are ready to buckle up your seatbelts, I'm ready for a wild ride.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Cool. The subject of today's little mini section from myself surrounds 1992 Dayton, Ohio murder spree. So there are probably some people who will know about this one already, especially if you're from Ohio. I'm pretty sure you know all about it. Anyway, so in 1992 in Dayton, Ohio, 4 youths who referred to themselves as, and I think this is brilliant, the Downtown Posse.
I mean, it's just...
Yeah. Decided to...
Very original.
And I quote, let some drama in their lives, end quote, and planned to rob an acquaintance of one of theirs, only for it all to turn from drama into a 3-day robbery, assault, and vicious murder spree that would haunt the city of Dayton forevermore. I assume they're still haunted by it. So,
yeah.
The posse
Maybe.
Consisted of 19-year-old Marvelous Keane, who was apparently an intimidating figure, a good student, and even supposedly a really good human being, having never been in trouble with the law, up until the short time after his brother's death in a robbery the year prior. Marvellous's then 16-year-old girlfriend Laura Taylor, who was allegedly not only the most intelligent and manipulative of the group, but also allegedly the most dangerous. The police would later describe her as cold and remorseless. Finally, we had 17-year-old DeMarcus Smith and his 20-year-old girlfriend Heather Matthews. So all members of the posse were estranged from their families. They were very bored. They were full of angst, anger, and they were basically out looking for trouble. So on Christmas Eve 1992, Laura Taylor convinced the group to plan a robbery of an acquaintance of theirs, 34-year-old Joseph Wilkerson, who was a General Motors employee. Taylor and Matthews approached Wilkerson, so the two ladies, just in case, because they're going to be using the surnames here the whole time, so if you have any questions about who's who...
Okay.
Right?
Fair enough.
So Taylor and Matthews approached Wilkerson and lured him back to his own home with a promise of having a fun time with the two of them, if you catch my drift. They began to strip only to then produce a gun, and they forced Wilkerson onto the bed where they tied him up with electrical cords. Keane then entered the house, and the three of them began to ransack the home looking for valuables. Keane found a .32 caliber pistol, apparently in the garage. Keane then returned to the bedroom and decided to just shoot Wilkerson in the chest. Taylor then took the gun from Keane, pressed it against Wilkerson's head, and pulled the trigger, killing him. They basically covered the body in loads of junk as they were ransacking the house. Didn't really care, just left him lying there in the bed. After eating some of Wilkerson's food, because they did that to him, not only did they kill him, but he had his fucking food. They left the property.
As you do.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They left the property with very few items, none of any value really, except for Wilkerson's car, which they were now going to use as their vehicle of choice to start this spree with.
Jesus Christ.
So the group hit town, and they spotted a young woman using a payphone outside a neighbourhood market. The woman was 19-year-old Danita Goulet, or Galette. I don't know which way you'd pronounce it, so my apologies. So she would sadly become their second victim. So viewing it as
They wanted drama in their lives, so they just wanted to rob this guy. Yeah. And now they've murdered two people.
So far, they've murdered one person.
They're
about to murder a second one, though. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it's
I don't worry, Phil. She ain't the last either.
That got out of hand very quickly.
Yeah. Basically, they went in to rob the place and then shot him.
My question is like, they could have got him tied up without using a gun. They're two women. If they're like, get on your bed.
Oh, shit.
He's going... Like, he's up on that bed and he's like, oh, we're being tied up? Sure.
They also could have robbed him without killing him, Phil. So,
they could have done none of it. They could have done... We want some drama in our lives. Oh, go rent a fucking movie.
If you're confused now, wait until I tell you at the very end what exactly they made out of robberies. Right?
Oh, they made nothing. Fuck.
So, no, they didn't make nothing. Don't worry. It's worse than making nothing. Trust me.
Right?
Shit. All right.
So anyway, right.
Proceed.
So they're viewing it as a quick and easy robbery. Keane approached the phone booth, pointed a gun at Danita, and said, "Merry Christmas, bitch." Then proceeded to shoot 9 rounds into the phone booth. Keane would make away with a pair of tennis shoes, a coat, and a bag. The bag only had around 50 cents in it, apparently, according to what I read. 5 of the shots hit Danita, and she would be pronounced dead later on at hospital. But apparently she actually died at the scene, though. So the group then returned to an apartment that was owned by Keane to retire for the night, but not before taking what was effectively their third victim, Heather, who the 20-year-old girlfriend. So Heather's ex-boyfriend, Jeffrey Wright. Wright was in the apartment to hang out with the group because they're all kind of buddies. When DeMarcus Smith, her current boyfriend, 17-year-old guy, decided to... Oh, sorry, what? I forgot about this. So, DeMarcus Smith, Heather's current boyfriend, and a fourth member of the stupid clown posse, as I've decided to call them, shot Wright 4 times in the legs. But somehow... What? Yeah, somehow... Wright managed to get out and escape and ran to the neighbours after being shot 4 times in the legs. Because he's everyone's ex-boyfriend who's hanging around, so he just shot him. He just came in and shot him.
You want to shoot somebody because they're your girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, but why 4 times in the legs? That doesn't...
He obviously a terrible shot.
Who empties out a fucking clip into a phone booth and hits somebody 5 times instead of every time?
Look, I'm still wondering, I want to know where the bullets went in the guy, the 4 shots in the leg. Were it 2 and 2? Was it just all in one leg?
I don't know. But all I thought of, did you ever see the show Assy McGee?
Yes.
It's really funny. The bit when he's on the bus and he shoots the guy in the leg, and the guy's lying there, he's like, "Help me, I need a doctor." So he shoots him in the other leg, and he goes, "Now you need 2 doctors." That's all I could think of when I read this.
Right.
But anyway.
If I met them, I would have blew out the kneecaps. The first thing I'm taking out is your kneecaps. If I'm going to shoot you in the legs, you take out the kneecaps. They can't run. You're safe.
But my assumption is that he probably pulled out the gun And the guy probably ran, and he started shooting at him as he was running, and probably clipped him in the legs. He was probably doing the fucking usual sideways shite that people use that they can't aim with.
That's a good point. My problem is these are youths from Dayton, Ohio. They should be better with guns.
Probably hunting rifles. They're probably better with the hunting rifles than handguns.
No, not downtown Dayton. You're better with the fucking Glock than you are with. You're not using your gun.
They can afford the Glocks.
Unless you're hunting people.
Everybody's sitting there with snub-nosed 38s and say, anything more than that, can't handle it.
Yeah.
Nope. So, right. Anyway, there were two. So he managed to escape, survived his injuries. Right, so he survived. So there were two other friends there in the apartment at the time who witnessed the attack. There was a 16-year-old Wendy Cottrell and an 18-year-old Marvin Washington. Now, the group debated over whether or not they could actually trust the two of them to keep quiet after what they saw, but they ultimately decided to sleep on it until the next morning. Right, so
I'm fucking out of there, man. I'm out of there.
You wake up, I'm gone.
Christmas morning, right? Some of this is stupid, all right? So Christmas morning, the good old stupid clown posse decide that their next target is going to be Taylor, how old is she? 16-year-old girlfriend? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's Miran Keene's 16-year-old girlfriend. Decide it's going to be Taylor's ex-boyfriend, Richard Maddox. So Taylor convinced Maddox to go to a hotel with her. He went and collected her in his car. Sure. And the plan was that the rest of the group would follow them to the hotel, and then they would go in after them and ambush them. But it did not go to plan at all. So what happened was Maddox picked up Taylor in his car, and while he was driving to the hotel, he realised that the other group were behind them, following them. So a couple of different things I read said that he spotted them and he put his foot down and started driving erratically and all this stuff to try and evade them. Now, the thing is, though, is that the only person you'd be able to get that information from is crazy Taylor.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's true. All I know is the only thing that is definitely true is that at one stage while driving, Taylor took out her gun, put it to his temple, and shot him in the head while they were still moving. So she managed to Tom Cruise it though, and jumped out of a moving vehicle. Left him to crash further on down the street, which made him officially their fourth victim, third murder. Yeah, in this rampage. So she got into the car with the others and they hightailed it out of there. They spent the rest of Christmas Day staking out an ATM to try and get their next victim, hoping that somebody would show up to withdraw cash and that they would basically rob them and kill them, or just rob them. Chances are they'd probably kill them before they were going to kill them near money. But chances are they probably weren't waiting for money at all. They probably would just kill them. But nobody showed up, thankfully, and they ended up spending the night sleeping in Wilkerson's car in a nearby parking lot. So the morning of the 26th, the group pulled into a gas station to steal another car. They decided they wanted to have a second car for driving around and doing their thing. Yeah, they're all cracked. Yeah. So they spot a woman putting air into the tires of her Dodge Shadow. So they approached the woman at gunpoint, and luckily, instead of doing freezing racing, she just ran. She pulled like woman. GTA, Good. NPC, just...
Yes, that's what you do. Get the fuck out.
She would report her car stolen, though. Right?
Smart.
So because...
My question is, what happened to the dude who got shot 4 times in the leg? Did he not talk to the police?
From what I can see, no. That's another thing, is there's never any mention of him ever going to the police.
Are you serious?
Snitching. Yeah, but the chances are he could have been. Yeah, but there's that. But God, for all we know, there could have been drugs involved or anything like that as well, where he would have been in shit himself. And God only knows the circumstances behind exactly why. What's his face? Thing shot him. Smith, DeMarcus Smith. God only knows what. It might have been a jealousy thing or a feud thing because of him being the ex, or could have been anything. But I'd say there was more to it than that. Like, you know, like if he had gone off and ratted them out, he'd probably shit himself then, maybe that this whole snitching thing. But anyway, so because they were fully aware that this woman was after getting away and they could potentially call the cops. They swapped the license plates around on the two cars to try and confuse the police. Right.
They're still stolen.
But they don't nobody knows the other car is stolen though.
They will eventually.
They don't know yet. That's the thing, right?
If the police run here behind you, they just run your plates randomly for no fucking reason other than they have nothing better to do, and it comes up as the plates are on the wrong car, you're still gonna get fucking pulled over.
Yep. Anyway, so
these are teens. They're not.
So they swap. Yeah. So they swap the plates anyway, and they drive to a mini market, small family-owned grocery store, and one of these corner bodega type things. I think it was from pictures I saw. And they chose this as a location for their next robbery. I liked the way everything I looked up was as they'd stated that they were choosing it to rob, yet they have not really committed much of a robbery here at all yet.
Yeah, they've got
so Taylor entered the premises first to scope it out as a potential target. So working behind a counter was a woman called Sarah Abraham. She was a mother of 3, and she said she was working there when suddenly she was shot twice in the head.
Jesus Christ.
Keane and Smith walked in, and Keane just shot her straight away. He just walked in the door and just shot her twice in the head. Keane then opened fire on the rest of the store, where there was a 67-year-old Jones Pettis and 71-year-old Jimmy Thompson were customers in the store at the time. Thompson was lucky, was the luckiest one of the two of them, as they completely missed him with the shots. Okay. But he dropped to the ground and pretended he was gone and played possum.
I mean, in your 70s, you don't really have a whole lot of other choices.
Pettis survived his wounds, but obviously Sarah would not.
Two in the head, I would be surprised.
Yeah. So, still having doubts about their two friends from the night before, Cottrell and Washington, the group decide to invite the two of them to hang out.
I like how Dan just looks at the camera, just like, really?
Oh, yeah, that's a constant theme. Yeah.
You just witnessed them shooting one of your friends. Anyway, so they decided to have some drinks. Apparently they're having some beers, some cheap ass wine, and they were driving around the place when Keane announced that he needed to stop to relieve himself. So they pulled into a nearby gravel yard.
Oh God!
Now, alarm bells are ringing. So
nothing good ever happens in an abandoned gravel yard. Ever.
Nothing.
I'll tell you a couple of really bad things that are about to happen in the gravel yard, and one of them is not Keane urinating. I'll tell you that much. So, Keane and Smith forced Cottrell and Washington out of the car. Keane placed his gun into Cottrell's mouth and pulled the trigger, killing her instantly. Smith, meanwhile, just straight up murdered Washington as well. So they just separated the two of them and shot the two of them. So they stole some of their personal effects and left. So these effectively were the 5th and 6th victims, I believe. Or maybe, hold on, maybe I got my numbers wrong. Because the old guy in the shop got shot, but he didn't die.
He didn't die. 1, 2, shot the friend, he lived. We're going to probably shoot that lady, but she ran.
Yeah, they shot the woman behind the counter, that's 4. Shot the guy in the shop, that's 5. So technically 6 and 7 are these two. But they're deaths. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm still mystified that these people didn't get caught by the police yet.
These, luckily enough though, were their final victims. So at the time, the police were completely unaware of the fact that the bodies and the victims that they were finding around the place now at this stage were related, and they did not know that they were related to the car theft that had been reported. And basically, a police sergeant would spot a suspicious Dodge Shadow, which matched the description of a stolen vehicle, except the plates did not match. Upon running the plates, he discovered that they were from a different car. So he called it in. Yeah. So he called it in. And because it was known to have been held up at gunpoint, he called in other units, and they, unbeknownst to the group, managed to box them in and then basically surrounded them and got them to pull in. so it's that they stopped any chance of there being a chase.
Sure.
So, like I said, seeing as they were completely unaware that the bodies of the victims and the car were related at all, what this sergeant thought was just simply conducting a stop for Grand Theft Auto, but he actually unwittingly and unknowingly stopped what was actually one of the biggest murder sprees the city had ever seen.
Yeah.
The posse, except for Smith, gave up peacefully. He ran away, but he would soon be caught. He just literally pegged it on foot into
shoot
a
him in the
house.
legs.
Yeah, they just pegged it off him. Yeah.
Just shoot him in the legs.
It wouldn't be until later, though, that the police would actually put everything together. The victims weren't related in any way, shape, or form, so they didn't have any idea that these were even involved in the murder.
That's fucking crazy.
So, the killings were completely random, and the only connection they actually had were shell casings left behind from Keen's gun at each scene. Man. So when they managed to match them up with Keen's gun, basically.
Yeah.
Because of the plates being from Wilkinson's car, and they ended up finding the stolen car, they went to Wilkinson's home, which is where they ended up finally finding his corpse. Mm-hmm. And there was an anonymous tip that led them to discovering Cottrell and Washington in a gravel yard. And it was believed that the tip may have come from a priest whom Taylor confided in when she was locked up.
Oh, okay. So it was after the fact. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in the prosecution, Smith and Taylor were treated as minors, as they're 16, 17.
Fuck that.
And therefore would not be able to receive the death penalty.
Fuck that.
Smith pulled the trigger in 2 of the murder cases and once more in one of the assaults in the case of Richard Maddox, and Taylor pulled the trigger in 3 of the 6 accounts of assault and or murder.
Yeah.
Matthews made a deal with the prosecution in order to avoid the death penalty. She's 20 years old. All 3 of them are currently serving life sentences. So Smith, Taylor and Matthews are currently serving life sentences, with Matthews currently appealing it, as she never actually pulled the trigger in any of the murders or any of the assaults.
Oh, fuck off.
She was an accomplice due to peer pressure, according to herself. Now, considering the fact that one of them was a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 19-year-old who she wasn't even in a relationship with, a 19-year-old, and she's the oldest of a lot of them, and it's giving her the fucking peer pressure. Fuck, get over yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Like, seriously. So, Keane would receive sentence of the death penalty after being convicted of 5 murders. He was executed via lethal injection in 2009 after 17 years of imprisonment and multiple appeals. So, considering the point of the entire thing was to allegedly just rob people.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the point at first was to rob one guy.
Yep.
One guy.
For
and
some
they
drama.
didn't even do it.
Yep. So, considering that, here's what the group made away with.
Yeah, what's the haul?
Not counting the cars. Okay.
Not counting the cars. Okay.
The haul is around $50, a hairdryer, a necklace, 2 pairs of shoes, a coat, and a microwave.
The fuck did they get the microwave?
From the first guy's house. They just took it and walked out the door.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking,
one had it in the phone booth.
The lady in the phone booth just holding a microwave?
Hey, Ma, I got a new microwave. Hold on.
My God.
So, and thus endeth the rampage of the idiot posse.
Jesus Christ. Kids, if you're bored, play a game.
Yep. Play D&D. Play D&D.
Play D&D.
Make a dick necklace, dude.
Like when we were angsty, we'd listen to Creed or something, guys.
I want to be put on the record where I would say, do not listen to Creed.
No, you're right.
Don't listen to Creed.
That'll probably get you to commit the murders.
Yeah, go put some pennies on a train rail,
track.
A railroad
track.
That
derailed a train, though.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows?
Maybe you
Find
won't
something
kill.
else to do.
Yeah, Jesus, Murphy.
But see, it's weird how a lot of these people get caught, because there's so many famous like serial killers and mass murderers that get caught by accident. because they get pulled over for something
things.
stupid. And it's like, you have a body in the back of your car. That's not, come to prison now.
That's not normal.
Yeah.
That is some weird ass. Like, that is some that's like, that's childish.
Yeah,
I mean, they were...
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, let's just say they were, well, we need some drama. We need something to do. Let's go rob somebody. Every single one of them had it in their head that they wanted to kill somebody. Because you don't go from, let's rob this one guy, to let's go
targeting some people
on a
as well,
citywide murder spree over Christmas. Just cause. No, this was something that they wanted to do.
It's like, was it Horrible Bosses? Was that the one where they planned to kill each other's bosses?
Yeah.
They're like that, but it's like all their exes and stuff. Like, but that's the thing is, so like where I got the briefs for the 2 stories that I'm doing, right, were from, from the website thegrunge.com.
Okay.
They had a list of all these different stories of different things that happen around Christmas and stuff. And I read about 2 lines of this one. I went, no, I'm going to look this up now. I have to look this up. This is just ridiculous. Like, this is, I could just tell straight away, as like, this is just going to be stupid and pointlessly violent and ridiculous. Like, you know,
it's
like if you think about the woman in the phone booth is the most random one of the whole lot. They knew everybody else that they actually killed.
Sure.
Right? Like, the whole thing though of like the funny grown man
they know
going off to have sex with a 16-year-old. Like,
that I was thinking about that.
That's a bit fucked up. You know, but even take that aside, you know what I mean? Like that, like just going and just make a phone call to some random guy just walks up and shoots you. Like, it's just
living in America.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I mean,
the other friends just unlucky to be where they were that night. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't think going to a party with your friends you're going to be witnessing
shot in the
assault
leg,
and then you end up being murdered.
But then you go back out with them.
Yeah, that's
look how young they were. They're obviously very impressionable. They're obviously they're hanging out with the downtown posse. You know, they wanted to be the cool guys. You know, that was a peer pressure thing right there of hanging out with them. Was it they were like 14 and 16 or something like that? Hanging around with these guys. You know, hanging around with all these adults that were all around, like, you know, drinking and probably smoking and
oh, cool shit.
Yeah, so they're gonna want to jump into their quite obviously stolen and blood covered car to go off and drive into a fucking quarry or whatever the hell it was. You know, say, hey, you didn't have this car yesterday. Didn't know covered in blood either. Car. Yeah. Well, this looks enough that, like, you know that guy that works for General Motors down there? Yeah. Kind of looks a bit like his car.
Let's go down to a gravel pit, guys. Come on, let's go.
No. I have to go piss. Let's go to the gravel pit.
Yeah.
You know?
If anybody ever suggests you stop in a gravel pit, you get out of the car, you run. Just run. Run. Because nothing good is going to happen. Nothing good ever happens in an abandoned gravel pit.
Oh, yeah, nothing. Down at the gravel pit. There's a song, Gravel Pit.
Yeah, I was saying Wu-Tang Clan, Gravel Pit.
Yeah.
I was singing it there a second ago, yeah. Come on down the gravel pit, or something like that. I can't... It's like, no thanks. Fuck you. Not a hope. Anyway, so yeah, that's my story, guys. Yeah.
Very good. Not good, but good job.
Yeah, weird.
You picked a great Christmas story, Dan.
Actually was a Christmas as well, so...
Yeah, it was Christmas. All right,
mine holidays.
Yeah, let's switch it up and let's take a little tour of the Far East. Phil.
Oh God, this is going to be interesting. So, as we all know, Japan is kind of known for their wacky and zany shows, contests, if you will. You know, you have. Candy or not candy, where people bite into random household objects to see if it's candy. But there's one. Yeah.
Well, have you seen the one where the people used to have to stand behind the partition and the female would jerk the guy off as he's trying to sing, and if he could get through the whole song? Yeah, they're fucking weird.
There's also the one with like a candy lace thing that they unravel. The girl can become nude or something. Very interesting. But we're going to talk about one of their darkest shows. It's a Truman-esque Truman Show-esque show. I'm going to destroy the name of it, and I apologize but it's...
That's fine. I do it all the time.
Sunyu Deepan Showin. Okay? This... Yeah, it's SUSUNU exclamation mark DENPA new word SHONEN.
New word.
New word.
Most people go space.
New word.
Yeah, new word. All right.
Oh, fuck.
New word. I've invented a new word, people. So this show ran from 1998 to 2002 on the Nippon TV network. It is a season-long show. So they find one person, they record the whole season in 1 year. It's a full year, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And it's really for their contestants are usually struggling, desperate comedians, because obviously those people can do the most, right?
Typical reality show. Just find some used up, washed up comedian and throw a camera on him.
Pretty much, right?
Like us. Give me a call, Japan.
Give Japan a call. Maybe we can get on this show. So some of the things were 2 contestants were stranded on an island and had to make a raft, spending 4 months trying to escape in one season. Another had to hitchhike from South Africa to Norway.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Oh my god,
that's a long fucking walk.
There's another guy, another contestant who had to sit in a room and watch their favorite TV baseball team on TV, and if the team won, they got food. If they lost, they would be the electricity would be shut off in the room, and a losing streak would mean starvation. Jeez. So you get to eat if your team wins. Thank God he was not a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. 67 years. I'm sorry, I had to as a Canadian. Dan doesn't.
I assume they're shit.
They're not a good baseball team.
No. They're not even a baseball team. They're a hockey team on top of it.
They're not a good hockey team.
They haven't won since 1967, before the invention of before the invention of color TV. So
they actually won a game.
They've won games.
They won games.
they
haven't won a championship.
I was going to say, how could they keep themselves afloat in any way, shape, or form?
It's Toronto. It's just a whole bunch of rich people going to it, anyways. Yeah. So this story talks about a Fukushima-born comedian, Tomaki Hamatsu, better known on the show as Nasubi, which I'll explain what that kind of nickname comes by, because they gave him a nickname because this is torturous. Okay. He was forced to stay alone and unclothed, so no clothing, in a tiny apartment secluded from the outside world with only piles and piles of magazines until he won a combined $1,000,000 yen, which is about $10,000. So he was stuck in a room, unclothed, and had to fill out sweepstakes.
Right. Yeah. I was like, how did you win $1 million?
Yeah, so sorry, it was with totaling in totals from regularly applying to various magazine sweepstakes. He could only survive on what he won from those mail-in sweepstakes, initially painting the show as a unique experiment that may or may not air on television. Producers convinced Nasubi to believe that he was self-recording his day-to-day experience for further review, when in reality, his most confident moments were broadcast for the whole world to see and make fun of.
Yeah.
So were they actually legit, like, magazine things where, like, he had to actually enter proper competition? It wasn't like they were just randomly pulling ones like, oh yeah, he won a bowl of pasta.
No. He was forced. Over the 15 months, it took 15 months. The guy spent writing letters into publications where he could win prizes, roughly $1,400 a week, being taunted and mocked in different ways, like by a series of food delivery men with aromatic meals that were intended for him. This somehow managed to entice fans around the country. Like, he was tortured with food. Oh, you can't have it. Yeah,
Yeah, but
pretty
nothing
much.
worse. Yeah, imagine you're sitting starving, and smell like a cheeseburger,
Uh-huh.
or you see some guy walking past it.
Yeah, just eating a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
This show, this series broke records, becoming the most watched series in Japan's history, with a total of 17 million viewers each Sunday night. In a country with you have to remember, this is a country with a third of the population of the U.S.
Yeah. Fuck.
Doubling the average rating from HBO's hit high fantasy show Game of Thrones. Those 17 million people would watch this man's life be destroyed in real time.
And the rest of our lives were destroyed in real time at the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's a fair.
It all comes
Yeah,
back around.
it's full circle.
I was going to say before. I was going to be kind of slightly appalled there for a second. Then I remembered. Then this is also the same country that you can buy used pairs of underwear in vending machines. Yeah.
So his story started with the producer stripping him of his clothes on his back and any supplies of food, as well as any mode of contact with the outside world.
Okay, except for the sweepstakes, he was.
Yeah. So nasubi is the Japanese word for eggplant. That's why he was nicknamed that.
So he's just a cack.
Yeah, he's just a cack. Yeah, so because of his nudity, they put an animated eggplant in front for the audience. They also mocked his face because it does look like an eggplant. He has a very long face.
Why did they get him naked in the first place then? Because
I have no idea.
If he doesn't,
just extra human.
But as far as he's concerned, he's on his own. Nobody can see him.
Because if he wanted clothes, he'd have to win them in a sweepstakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want pants? Go win them, bitch. Yeah.
So the only thing that really kept him, quote unquote, sane was the magazines he was looking for straight entries, sweepstake entry forms.
So much hustler.
Yeah.
It's like extreme couponing, Japan edition.
Yeah. For nearly 1 year, Nasubi lived in front of the camera as if existing within a found footage horror film, with the only possessions being those he won from the sweepstakes. Starving at first, but he then managed to live off of things like a bag of rice, or even just a large supply of dog food for extended periods of time.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Legally, it has to be fit for human consumption.
Yep.
Okay.
Jesus. Okay. So throughout the whole show, he thought he was being recorded and it would be edited for his daily life, and rebroadcast at a later date. What he didn't know was it was live streaming, coupled with silly sound effects, mocking and making fun of him as he wept, screamed, and generally went mad, which understandable.
Yeah.
He never won clothes, aside from some panties which were too small for him to fit, or too small for him to wear. Thank God, because what would have happened? After he reached his goal of 335 days of having won enough items with a combined value of 1 million yen, he was led to believe that he had won a special trip for surviving the year. He was abruptly blindfolded by producers and moved to a new location, South Korea, where he would have to win enough. He would have to win enough earnings in order to get a flight back to Japan.
Jesus Christ!
Wait.
The South Koreans just like, yeah, sure, why not?
Wait. He was placed in yet another secluded apartment where he was asked to take off his clothes and instructed to enter more sweepstakes. But being a pro by then, and after a bit of a breakdown, as you can imagine, he went all in and was able to win enough prizes to afford the tickets within a matter of weeks. The producers didn't like this, of course, so they changed the rules and forced Nasubi to be able to afford first class tickets. Because they're like, wait, only a few weeks? No, fuck this. We need you to get first class now. But he beat the odds and made the money in a matter of weeks again. He was able to fly back home to Japan, but again, he was taken to another secluded apartment. In despair and resignation, Nasubi began to take off all his clothes without instructions. Suddenly, the walls of the apartment abruptly collapsed, revealing a live studio audience filled with cheering audience members. Obviously being confused by the whole thing, Nasubi didn't understand that millions of people were watching his story unfold for the past year and a half, as he was unaware that the show had even aired.
No, he's thinking, have they been out there the whole time?
Yeah.
I wonder why I could hear. I thought I had a laughing track this whole time.
Yeah. He obviously suffered mental and emotional trauma.
Yeah.
Being stripped of your clothes for a year, only able to eat certain type of food, the communication. Yeah, this was huge. He lost weight.
Well, yeah, if he can only eat the stuff he wins until he starts eating the magazines.
He engaged in conversations with stuffed animals. He imagined being teachers at an attempt to save his sanity. But he just deteriorated nearly as bad as a schizophrenic.
He's Tom Hanks from fucking Castaway talking to inanimate
Pretty
objects.
much, yeah. There is a quote. Give me a second here.
It's in Japanese though, so we can't.
No, it's in Japanese. Give me a second here. No, everything was harsh and every day was like hell back then. Nasubi told Style Korimiya. The hardest thing was not being able to see and talk with anybody. My mental condition was at its worst. I was like, why only me? Why do I have to do all these things? I'd rather die than feel like this. Although I looked like I was having fun most of the time on the edited show, to me, it was full of pain.
Yeah, well, they edited it to make it look like it's all fun and games, but in reality, this guy's fucking dying on the inside. You gotta think, after going that long without wearing clothes are going to start to feel. I mean, you're going to put on clothes.
You start feeling
like suffocating you. You're going to be itchy all the time. You're going to be one of those weird naked people. He's always naked.
He's just it's Natsubi. He's just a naked dude.
He's a naked guy.
Here's what's more revealing: the producer's inability
to publicly.
Other than his nakedness.
What's more revealing other than the eggplant emoji?
Yeah. The producer was unable to publicly say that he regretted the show being created or anything he did to Nasubi, while downplaying the mental strain these experiences had on the lives of contestants who were sexually abused in one instance, nearly died as a result of suffering from dehydration in another.
God damn.
Instead, he tries to explain his actions by glorifying his work, noting that each experiment was a miracle to be caught on film. Yeah.
So, do you remember my word of wisdom thing where I said about not doing stupid shit in Russia?
Uh-huh.
Don't sign up for doing a TV show in Japan.
Yeah, it's pretty much number 2.
All you can think of is the Simpsons episode where they sign up for a game show to try to get home.
Yeah, this show pretty much it mentions that the reality shows based on Simpsons as well as Black Mirror, the White Bear episode.
Yeah.
He received no treatment. Hold on. The star, following the show's conclusion, was a household name in Japan, having been thoroughly and non-consensually cast in the public eye. With his fate as a reality star decided for him, he was left to navigate an equally high-pressure, stressful, anxiety-induced set of circumstances once the show concluded. With most reality shows now strictly obligated to offer psychological support and assessment following a contestant's involvement, he didn't receive any such treatment and was left to fend for himself in an environment that contained remnants of the sort Black Mirror White Bear.
So, I mean, was he able
Squid
to
Games.
sue him afterwards and get some money off of it, or?
Well, he had an uphill battle. He recovered. He found himself overheating in clothes. And in 2016, a good thing happened. He was able to climb Mount Everest after attempting 4 other times. And during a talk in
naked the whole time.
Yeah. He kept going naked.
Just stuck this way in the cold.
It but points during the way up.
It's going. We go right way. In a talk in 2017, he attributed the achievement of scaling the Himalayas to the giant mental fortitude he built up on the show. A statement that is concurrently a damning indictment of the inhumane conditions he was put under, but in an indirect way turning a negative into a positive. Yeah, I read this. I read this. Like, I was looking for torture things, and I couldn't find anything. And then I'm like, Japanese torture, right? Let's go across the world, because North America,
Listen,
you guys...
If you ever need any torture, and we found out, if you ever need any horrifying torture stories, just look up at Japan.
Yeah,
Japan reality show. But yeah, like that is insane. Just thinking about being stuck in a room with, like, if I had clothes, cool. Like, without clothes, being filmed. Like, oh my god.
that's kind of like what you want to do for a living, though. The whole time, Phil, just sitting in a club. You with your whiteboard.
Me and my whiteboard, some emoji plants, and a penis necklace.
Yeah.
That's all I want in life.
You just imagine Phil's in this, and they're like 3 months in, and they bring him a pair of headphones and a microphone, and then leave, and he just starts talking to the wall, podcasting,
creating my own
telling
podcast,
the wall how it can be an entrepreneur.
So we're here with Elephanty. Elephanty, how did you become an entrepreneur?
And they just pose over. It's just a stuffed elephant. Like, really? You don't say? Well.
Oh my god, that's
Family Guy episode. Show me potato salad. Should we just leave? Can we just walk away? Yeah, let's just walk away. God damn.
Oh my god, like, that is insane. I feel sorry for that guy.
Man. But see,
yeah, that is...
They go hard over in Japan. Here in America, there'd be lawyers and
there's laws. That's why there's laws.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, everybody's over there.
People in there
seems to be
and
batshit crazy. So
gorgeous and yeah.
The thing that they are one of the most advanced and yet not countries in the world when it comes to stuff like that. Like, like when it comes to technology and all, like Japan is living in the next century beyond the rest of us in terms of an awful lot of stuff that they do and what they have.
Yeah.
But then you look at some of this shit. You kind of say to yourself,
society-wise, they're still in the 1700s. But technology-wise, they're in like the 32nd century.
Yeah, and convenience-wise and everything. Yeah, it's just crazy the way things are over there. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay with sharing someone.
Well, you remember in our Nanking series where we talked about how we went over there to try to convince them to, open up their borders, and we're going over there with warships, and they're still fighting people with bow and arrows and sticks, and then within the course of like 50 years,
throwing Nintendos at people.
Yeah, exactly. They had advanced as much as anybody else, throwing Samsung phones that explode.
I was going to say, that'd be Korean. They'd be throwing Samsung phones.
That's Korean.
I was going to say, they'd be throwing the Nokias. The old block Nokias. That's what they do. They literally cover all of their military ships in those old Nokias. Or Nokias, and they're like, oh no, here come the indestructible Japanese vessels.
Yeah. Say what if the Titanic would have had some Nokias on it? We'd be doing memorials for the iceberg. Right? That just goes, man, because Japanese games. Again, that's the thing, is the fucking Japanese game shows go hard. Like, you don't win unless you win. That's what I hate
have to
about
earn
like
it.
The American Ninja Warrior and all that shit. They've bastardized it because it's whoever gets the furthest, the fastest, you're the winner. Fucking Ninja Warrior in Japan, you only
survives.
win unless you get to the very top of the thing and don't fall off and die. All right, that's the only way you win. How many fucking seasons do they have where they had no winner? All right, so I give them
Takeshi's
props
Castle.
for that.
That's Japanese as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
The most impossible game show ever. Like, it's just ridiculous.
MXPX. I can't remember. They did a version of it here in America where they took
P24X.
They took old episodes of that show and then cut them down and got comedians to dub over the voices to say just the weirdest fucking shit. I'll send you an episode of it. So it is hilarious, and only that show they only had like 3 winners for the entire stretch of the show, and I think they're bringing it back.
Is that the one where they have the rock that just rolls down?
Yes,
that's one of the things. Yeah, my favorite one is when they have to run through the doors.
Come out of nowhere, just knock your ass off, and
that downhill thing going through the doors is my favorite one, where it could be a solid brick wall, you could fall through into a load of water. It could be a monster on the other side that grabs you. But like my favorite is when people hit the walls because it's just like. it's like
they start off with. Each episode starts off with like 200 people, and they whittle it down to like 3 who were left to try to get up, and none of them make it. I think, like I said, they only had like 3 winners in the whole fucking thing.
It's like that, that video game, what's the name of it?
Fall Guys?
I'll have to look it up. Is it Fall Guys? Yeah, I think it's Fall Guys. Yeah, yeah, it's like Fall Guys.
Yeah.
I say, but less crazy. But Fall Guys is less crazy than.
You don't die. And there's no torture.
How do you know? Dude, have you ever seen any of those people afterwards? No.
Dan, I have a confession to make. I have...
crabs.
Beard dandruff. So close.
So much worse.
I know. Look away, I'm hideous. All seriousness. All serious.
All serious.
All serious. Me serious now. No funny. No. Frankenstein. No fire. Bad. Ah. In all seriousness, many of us men with facial hair have some sort of dry skin under their face fur. I have particularly dry skin, especially on my face, around my nose, my eyes, ears. That beard and mustache, they draw a ton of moisture from your skin in order to stay healthy, leaving the skin underneath sometimes dry, itchy, red, flaky, leading to the beard dandruff. And I struggled with it for quite a while. Struggled to, rein it in. Then I found thebeardstruggle.com. They use all natural products, never tested on animals, that your face, body, and beard will love.
They have day oils to protect your beard from UV rays and dirt and grime, and it keeps your skin from drying out. All the troubles the day can bring. And they have night oils to help moisturize and rejuvenate your skin and beard while you sleep. Not to mention, as of right now, they have 8 different fragrances. According to this.
That's what they tell me. That's what they tell me.
Do you want to know what they are?
I do. I want you to.
Ready?
I want you to pronounce them perfectly.
Okay. Here we go. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
From Alfheim's Forest, which has the scent of woodsy, leather and spices, to Hionir's Home, with scents of greenery, amber and musk, to Valhalla's Gates, with essences of citrus, amber, sandalwood and vanilla.
And right now I'm using the Aesir's Triumph, which I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, which has the scent of sweet incense, tobacco, whiskey, and cinnamon, and my wife absolutely loves it. Of course, I haven't gotten one from them that she hasn't loved, so. And if you can't choose, just get the sample pack, which comes with 6 of their mainstay scents and 5 milliliter bottles of nighttime elixir, so you can decide what is best for you. But they have so much more than just oils. Balms, wax, shampoo, conditioner, butters, cologne, natural deodorant, skincare products, heated beard straighteners, combs, brushes, shaving kits, growth kits, merch. List goes on and on and on. No matter what kind, length, or style of facial hair you have, the Beard Struggle has the products you need.
You get a free gift for purchases over $50, and you get another free gift for purchases over $100, and all orders over $65 US get free shipping. You have a 90-day money-back guarantee, so you really have nothing to lose. And be sure to use our exclusive coupon code TORTURE19 at checkout to get 19% off your entire order. That's TORTURE 19 at checkout for 19% off your entire order.
Torture19 at checkout, or click on the link in the show notes. Thebeardstruggle.com. Do what's right for your beard. Do what's right for your face. All right. Now that we've covered, I don't even know what to really say about that. Dan, you got one last one in you?
I do indeed.
Ooh.
The subject of my second story is nothing to do with Japan, thank Christ, but we are going back across the goddamn United States of America.
Yep.
Yeah!
To the wonderful state of Kentucky.
Where they actually do the yeehaw. So,
Yeah.
if you're not
Yay, I got it right!
you got, yeah.
So, in the year 1881, in Ashland, new word, Kentucky.
It's going to be a running gag now. I love it.
Every time we message one another, I'm not even putting spaces anymore. I'm just going to write a word and then put new word, then write a word and then put new word. It's going to take me many months to type out a message.
A, new word. The, new word. Spaceship, new word.
If you have an iPhone, you can set it up so it automatically puts it so it takes you less time. Just double hit the space bar.
I feel like one of my aunts.
Period.
The first time one of my aunts got a phone, she texted me and she didn't know how to do the space. So it was all just ampersand. So it was literally hello, ampersand, Daniel, ampersand, oh, ampersand, R, ampersand, you.
Hello, and Dan, and R, and you, and. Jesus.
New.
All right, let's give this story the respect it deserves, because I read a little bit of it and it's horrifying.
Yeah, yeah. This is the clean version of some of it too. That's the thing. Like it's
okay.
Because some of it was just like I'm not putting some. Like I'll explain. Anyway, sorry. So
Go ahead.
1881, Ashland, Kentucky. A Mrs. J.W. Gibbons leaves her family home on the 23rd of December, leaving her 18-year-old son Robert, who was a crippled boy who had lost one of his legs in a railroad accident, her daughter Fanny, who was 14 years old at the time, and their neighbour's daughter Emma Cariso, otherwise known as Emma Thomas due to her stepfather's surname being Thomas or Cariso. Couldn't nail it down which one, so anyway, we keep her as Cariso. Only to return on Christmas Eve to find her home burned to the ground and all three children dead. Emma's mother, lived next door, noticed the flames coming from the house that her daughter was over visiting at around 5 or 6 a.m. on Christmas Eve. They sounded the alarm and neighbours rushed to the home and managed to remove the three children, not knowing when they entered the house, obviously, that they would find them having already been murdered. Physicians who arrived on the scene examined the bodies to discover that all three children had their skulls smashed in, which they determined to be the official cause of death, and further evidence showed that two of the girls had been brutally sexually assaulted. They concluded that...
Go ahead. So the evidence of them being sexually assaulted, that would take a bit of invasiveness, but...
Oh yeah,
no.
They
evidence to know that their heads were smashed in. Do you really have to look over the bodies and be like?
That's the thing, though. So as far as I'm aware, with all these sort of things, they officially, like, if you or I went over and went, "Hey, his head smashed in. This is how he died." They were not officials. We can't officially make that call. Yeah, so they called that there and then, and it was after further examination. And it's not like they were sitting. It's not like they dragged them out and then went. Like they followed all the proper protocols apparently for 1800 Wild West. Yeah, like
the person's just dying there. There's a rock on their head. I think he died from a bullet wound.
Yeah, well, my
no way.
My assumption as to how they could possibly tell straight off the bat would be blood.
Yeah.
Realistically. Because
unless it all got burnt away. I mean, how
charred
up were they?
Not really. That's the thing as well, right?
Okay.
So,
they
we'll concluded that the fire was lit in order to cover the crimes. All right. So, I'll get onto the whole thing about the fire in a bit. So, a U.S. state marshal by the name of Heflin and a detective. Where was Heflin? Anyway, U.S. state marshal I have down here is by the name of Heflin. And a detective who was dispatched from Ohio by the name of J.B. Norris, I did get them the right way around, were assigned to the case. And Norris quickly jumped to the assumption that it was the Gibbons' father, John Gibbons, who was mainly absent from their lives, that had conducted the heinous crimes, but he was exonerated on the 31st of December. He was found to have been in a remote area of West Virginia, and he had proof that he was there at the time. So,
if he's not in their lives, why would he come murder 3 kids?
Well, he kind of is and he isn't. They just got on better living separately, and he, but he wasn't really around too often. So anyway, so Phil, what happened on the night of December 23rd, 1881 in Ashland? I hear you ask.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were asking him.
No,
like I don't know.
No,
I wasn't there.
Tell you, don't worry.
I was not even a gleam in my grandfather's eye at that point.
Fair enough. So, all was revealed when a man by the name of George Ellis entered a general store to buy a cigar. He was a regular customer and known to the owner, Mr. Powell, who struck up a conversation with Ellis stating that John Gibbons had been exonerated, and he was curious who Ellis thought might have committed the act. Ellis allegedly turned pale, began to tremble, and then ran out of the store, but he was muttering something to do with state evidence when he left. So Ellis apparently walked around the streets for hours, and eventually he made his way to the hotel where Marshal Heflin was staying. He informed Heflin of the events that unfolded under the remit that he would receive a lesser punishment under state's evidence, which apparently dictates that anyone guilty of a crime could inform on others involved in it in a bid to appeal for a lesser sentence than the other guilty parties.
Well, sure.
So basically, snitch on your compadres and partners in crime.
You cut a deal, yeah.
You cut a deal, you get a lesser sentence.
Yeah.
So, basically, the marshal had been through this sort of thing before, knew well what to do. He got a stenographer down, he got a witness in, also to take a statement directly from Ellis. There were 2 versions of a statement written. One of them is a more
graphic.
One of them was more graphic. One of them was kind of changed up a little bit to not be quite as graphic. So this the not quite as graphic one is the one that I'm reading out, which is apparently this is one of the 2 records taken by the stenographer. But I can't guarantee that this is 100% exactly what was written by the stenographer. But anyway, so what Ellis allegedly stated was, a few evenings prior to the 24th, I met Kraft, which is a gentleman he knows, who stated that he was going to see Fanny Gibbons and take her some black candy, and that he was going to have intercourse with her. He wanted me to come along. Now, I don't know what black candy is. I'm assuming it's licorice.
The old black candy.
No, I assume it's licorice. So,
I'm hoping it is.
Yeah, so,
it's like, what's wrong with
maybe that's what he calls himself.
It's all black.
The original black candy. So at about midnight on the fatal night, we all started, Kraft, Neil and myself. When we got to the house, Kraft raised the window with an old axe and stepped in first. Neil followed and I stayed behind on the porch, and afterwards I went in. Robbie, the 18-year-old cripple boy, was the first to arouse from bed and started to get up when Kraft said, "You had better lie still." Kraft then went to the bed where the 2 girls were sleeping and began to take improper liberties with them. Robbie said, "You had better stay away from there," when Kraft hit him with the axe. He fell back on the lounge, then plunged forward and fell fully 6 feet from the bed under the stairs where he was found. The girls screamed when Kraft jumped out. The girls screamed when Kraft jumped onto the bed, and they both said, "George Kraft, what are you here for?" Emma also started to jump from the bed when Neil choked her and pulled her onto the floor. She fought him, and she fought him, and I held her while he outraged her. Neil then struck her in the head with a big end of a crowbar, and she died instantly after throwing up her hands. Kraft also had some trouble with Fanny and called on me to help him. He then outraged and killed her. Neil proposed killing the girls, and after they were dead, I took some coal oil, poured it over the bodies, set fire to it with a match, and we then left the house. So that's the end of his statement. Now, the thing is, though, it's believed that when it comes to the oil thing, that they did find traces of coal oil on their garments. Sure. And that was set alight and was burns on it, but it didn't take. And it's thought that somebody then returned and then lit fire to the house.
Saw that the house
that didn't work,
catch on fire, and then
went back
I gotta do it
and
again.
just lit the actual house on fire.
Sure.
So Ellis would also claim that the two perpetrators had made comments months before the incident stating that they would have carnal communications with the girls before Christmas. Kraft and Neil, they all worked together in like a brickyard or some shit. So Kraft and Neil were both arrested and taken to jail in Catlettsburg, which is about 5 miles away from town. Allegedly, all three were placed in the same cell overnight, which is a bit stupid. The following day, surprise, surprise, Ellis renounced his confession, but it was all a little bit too late. He'd already gone down on record at that stage. Yeah. So, while the arrests and confessions were not yet public knowledge, it's a small town, word spread like wildfire, and very soon there was rumbles and talks of vigilante justice. Mm-hmm. So, officials received reports of a mob being formed in Ashland with plans to raid the courthouse to seize the three prisoners. The courts deemed that the three should be sent to Lexington to be jailed safely and made their way there via steamboat down the river, but the mob had gotten word of this and a chase ensued. They managed to basically arrive in Lexington without incident.
So
two boats,
chase?
yeah.
I just want to see a couple people in the rowboats, running on the side with their buggies too, just chasing after this rowboat, and they're like, "Oh dear God, they're catching!
It's going down the wrong
Put more steam on! Throw more steam!
Yeah, put more steam on
more coal!"
Pit maneuver!
Alright, so they got there without incident.
There's just one kid.
He throws out the stinger into the middle of the river.
Stick with one black guy on him. Just be like, we're in a story too.
So, Neil and Kraft were brought back to Catlettsburg in January to stand trial. Neil was the first up. The prosecution brought very little evidence, as they had no evidence. There were different accounts from different people as to the whereabouts from both the defence and the prosecutor's side, from Neil's whereabouts at the time of the murders, but there were quite a few people coming forward to his defence, and that of the other man as well, Kraft, basically giving them alibis that they were miles away at the time of the murders. The prosecution's star witness, Ellis, took the stand. Having previously recanted his statement numerous times, he now recounted for a more graphic version of events, which entailed Kraft and Neil assaulting the girls in far more graphic detail. Hence, that's the thing I'm leaving out. It's really fucking bad. So
we don't want to traumatize Phil too much.
No. It's one of those things. Honestly, it's one of those things. You can look it up, but I was just sitting there kind of reading through, and I was like, you know what, the other thing, you can read enough into it that you don't need to. Yeah. But it gives a far more graphic thing as to what's after happening. So, Ellis's account of what happened anyway. So, several more days of trial ensued, which I find very strange because apparently they had no evidence. But anyway, so after a few days, on the 6th of February 1882, it took the jury only 17 minutes of deliberation to find Neil guilty, and he was sentenced to hang on the 14th of February 1882. A few days later, Kraft was also convicted and was sentenced to the gallows for the same date. Ellis would then again recant his story a number more times, changing it a lot. Yeah. One account, he stated that he alone committed the murders, that he had hired 2 coloured men to assist him.
Because
right?
they'll go after the coloured men instead of going after any other.
So, on June 2nd, 1882, Ellis was found guilty, but he was given a life sentence as opposed to the death penalty due to his confession and the evidence of the conviction for Neil and Kraft. Ellis would not serve a day of this sentence, though, as at around midnight on the same night, a group of 20 men in black hoods ascended upon the jail and they entered by force Ellis was taken back to Ashland, where he was hanged on a sycamore tree near the scene of the murders. Apparently, it was like a 2-minute walk away from where the murders happened.
Yeah.
Kraft and Neal would actually go on then to win a number of appeals, and they would be permitted a retrial. Between Ellis's constant change of facts and statements and his wishy-washiness and the fact that it was all purely based on his word, and now this seemed to be the words of a madman, and now prosecution has okay, he's dead. Yeah. Many considered that for the two to be innocent. In June of 1882, and I just had this specifically down here for a reason in the where it said 2 black men were arrested and charged, were arrested by a black detective. Say that because of the fact that then it wouldn't be taken as a racist thing that they just hunt out. So that was, I think, the reason why they had it in it. But anyway, they were charged, but the charges were eventually thrown out. The arresting detective was then shot by a supporter of the accused.
Jesus fuck!
Yeah. The case continued to drag on until the fall of 1882, and then a new trial began. Due to the threats of mob violence, now this is my favorite part because it's like Red Dead Redemption shit right here if you've ever played it, right? So, due to threats of mob violence, it was deemed that a new venue should be sought for the trial. So the plan was to transport Kraft and Neal via train, but they quickly abandoned that plan when a Major Allen, who was the commander of the militia that was put in charge of guarding the prisoners, received word that a mob was mobilising to take them and that they were aware of their plans to go by train. So they then again decided, let's go by river, up the old Steamboat Willie route, right? Mm-hmm. As they were boarding the boat, a train arrived as the train line ran along the river. Okay? Mm-hmm. So from the direction of Ashland, which is the direction they'd have to go. So if you imagine sitting on a river, right, where this Catlettsburg place is, and let's just imagine that's south of Ashland for a minute. I don't know where it is, down south along the river. That's where they're boarding. And from the north, coming towards them, then a train arrives, carrying some 200 armed men and boys, demanding that Neal and Kraft be handed over. The militia basically said, fuck off, not a hope, got on the boat and started sailing. But the thing is, though, they have to sail past Ashland to get to where they're going, right? Sure. So these 200 men and boys jump back on their train, stick it in reverse, start heading back towards Ashland.
Did a U-turn. And
spend the entire time back. They spend the entire time back shooting at the boat. Right? Now, the militia do not return fire at all. They all take up cover and positions and they're all like, yeah, cool, happy days, let them do what they're going to do. They're putting it the broadside of a barn. And as the boat as the boat was, there's a steamboat as well. It's like, how do you miss the damn thing, right? Huge. Yeah. So, as the boat approached Ashland, about 20 men from the mob broke off and stole a ferry boat to try and intercept the steamboat, right?
Because, ferry boats are known for their speed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as soon as they got anywhere near the steamboat, and they started opening fire, the militia went, no, screw this, and they stood up from their positions and rained down hell upon them. A firefight broke out. Numerous people along the coast and in the town and the docks and all that stuff were shot by accident by stray rounds. So people who were just going about their day-to-day lives ended up getting shot. One person who ended up getting shot 3 times was the brother-in-law of one of the dead kids as well.
Oh,
who was, and he was just there. Like, he wasn't there for mob justice. Like, this guy was apparently like,
he was just doing his groceries.
He was like everybody else. I think he was there to see them pass by or some shit, but like wasn't there for like mob justice or whatever like that. But hey, he ended up getting a few stray rounds.
It was a float by shooting.
It was a boat by shooting.
Slowly,
that should be your new T-shirt. Your new T-shirt should say, "I survived a boat by shooting."
Yeah. Boat by, motherfuckers. So, on February 23rd, 1883, though, Kraft was once again found guilty. but he maintained innocence the entire time.
Well,
he
sure.
was adamant that, look, I didn't do this. And there's an awful lot of accounts and stuff that I read that it looks like maybe they didn't, and that it was all just Ellis and maybe somebody else, or Ellis being a fucking lunatic. Your man Neil was also found guilty. So Kraft was hung on October 12th, 1883, and Neil was hung on the 28th of March, 1885. So, yeah.
Jesus fuck.
Kentucky in the 1880s. How many times do you think the word Tar Nation was screamed out?
It's like, they wouldn't be chasing us if you weren't playing that chase music.
Banjos.
Yeah. But yeah, that's another...
get the band ready.
God damn.
Fucked up.
Jesus.
So I from all the stuff that I read, oh hello Sooty, from all the stuff I read, funny thing is just Ellis was a complete and utter lunatic.
Yeah.
And I assume that he was the one who did it, and pinned it on two of the only people he knew that he could pin it on. So,
I mean,
what?
back in the day when, DNA evidence wasn't a thing, and I mean, it was hard to pin anything on anyone without somebody actually being there. Yeah. It's honestly a smart way to get out of something and be like, you hear about those kids that were killed? Yeah, I know the guys who did it.
It was my twin brother. So, or like the twin brother thing we're saying in when you're being exiled.
Yeah, outlawing.
Outlawing. Yeah. It's my twin brother.
It's my twin.
Yeah.
But
the thing is, it was like there's a whole thing in it as well where I think it was Neil where Neil's wife was present throughout all the stuff to do with the trial, and she was like, he was at home with me at the time. Yeah. He could not have done it. She was adamant, like, and there was a couple of other people as well, that were like, they saw was a Kraft 5 miles away that night. Couldn't have been him at the time. And then somebody else said that they saw Ellis as they dragged the bodies out. They saw Ellis in the crowd standing there right next to everything that was happening, because the house had only started to light up on fire. It wasn't completely burned down. They left it burning while they're bringing the kids out and stuff like that. But apparently Ellis was there when all that was going down. So that was the whole thing. I said it was thought then that somebody returned. So my assumption based on all that stuff is that Ellis returned, lit fire to the place, exited the building, and then people spotted it and went out, and he was I mean, just the fact that he kept changing his story. I'll tell you what happened. They did this. Oh, that's horrible. Nah, they didn't. You know what they did? They did even worse.
This.
Yeah, there was a few different versions. One of the ones as well is that, like, let's say that apparently the young lad Robbie tried to escape, and somebody went after him, was one of the accounts, and struck him in the back of the head and then dragged him back in. And one of them was that they just killed him right where he was lying, and then another one was that they he got up and then he went over, and the really rough account was apparently one of the lads was doing what he was doing to the ladies, and then got up and walked over as soon as things sat up, and then beat him to death, and then returned. Like, hold on a second, sorry. Fucking cats. My God. Hey.
Wouldn't be an episode.
Just
without the cat.
Paper bags here.
Cat.
As usual, cats are always nosy as hell about bags and boxes, and I have a bag here. It's a paper bag with some Christmas stuff in it, and straight away the two of them are trying to climb into it at the same time. Bro, like, hey, what's this? No, get away from it.
Is there anything more 1880s though than having a kid with only one leg from a railroad accident?
No.
You just don't hear about that anymore.
No, he you know what he does? He went to play with pennies on the rail line, and the pennies shot out and cut his leg off.
You see, what actually happened to was that he was told.
He was bored and he was doing that, but at least he didn't go out and start murdering a bunch of people.
Well, that's
true.
Exactly.
Just so you see, he was told the old trick of if you're going to try and jump onto a moving train, you have to run fast enough to be able to count the nuts in the wheel. So he decided to do that, but then he remembered halfway through that he couldn't count. So
yeah, that was another problem with the 1880s.
Yeah. Especially in Kentucky. It's still a problem in 2023 in Kentucky.
It's still a problem.
Oh my god. Jesus mercy, boys.
Ding, 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 ding,
All right. Well, we could sit here and make fun of the South all day, but
that's another episode.
We'll lose any more listeners than we already have. All right. Well, Dan, good job on both of those. Phil, fucking crazy. Very entertaining.
The start of this episode is going to be, and the subject of today's episode is.
Exactly. Well, with that all done and over with, I think we'll end our Christmas episode, because this episode does come out on Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas. We will end it with the reciting of a Yuletide classic. The night before Christmas. The torture version of it, anyway.
I'm crying over here. I'm laughing so much.
If you're an avid listener to the show, everything in here should strike a chord with you. If you're just an occasional listener, some of it will. Dan should get all of it. See how much he's been.
Depends on how much I listen. You expect too much of me, Kevin.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the flat, not a creature was stirring, not even a rat. The gloves were all hung by the chimney with care, though a little stretched out, thanks to the choke pear. Jesse Pomeroy lay all snug in his bed, while visions of asses to bite danced in his head. The English yeoman smiled while he napped, thinking of the Irishman he just pitch-capped. Sorry, Dan. Then a rustling from the yard. I noticed the clatter, so I went to the window to see what's the matter. I looked down to our bushes, someone sneaking below, and there was Dan's most hated enemy, Paul Bernardo.
Fuck you, Paul Bernardo.
While he was waiting for a girl to be all on her own, I hurried to make noise, so his cover was blown. With the use of my knuckles on the window I did tap, and that's when he stood up and started to rap. Like, hey man, you think I'm innocent, but behind this I'm packing a lot of deadliness. So come at me, man. Take your best shot and see what happens to you, pal. You out of here, man. You come at me with your beer pot belly. You think you're really tough, man. Just then, a Viking, all stoic and regal, put us out of our misery. He gave Paul the blood eagle. Then up from the roof I heard what sounded like a wreck. I ran through my front door, outside to inspect. I looked to the sky and stared with a wow. It was Idi Amin shouting, "I'm the king of Scotland now." I knew it was a lie. It was something he did. So I went back inside. Time to go back to bed. I hurried to close the door so the wind wouldn't freeze us. I got warmed by my very own brazen bull. Be sure to leave room for Jesus. Then noises from the chimney. The fiend was on his way. As he emerged, I stood in horror. It was Joan's friend, Gilderay. I ran to lock the children's doors before he could find their beds. I needed to think quick or else they might all lose their heads. I thought about methods and devices, something to hurt, not to heal, but the breast ripper wouldn't work, and the head crusher isn't real. Maybe a flogging or a caning or a sjambak to the hip. I could mix it with the keel hauling and use the old barnacle whip. A bassination might do, or boiling in water or wine. Even Ling Chi, a punishment that would fit him just fine. But then I saw what I needed. Something to strike real fear. Old Bluebeard scurried back up the chimney when he saw my crocodile shear. Assured the devil was gone, I shuffled off to rest my back. I opened my bedroom door and stared in at the rack. Today the queen was Catholic. It was my turn to be in pain. Maybe tomorrow she'll be Protestant, and we'll switch places again. As I lie there on the wood, thinking of all the episodes we've done, the cults, the prisons, the deaths of the old and the young, from sacks full of animals to Gertrude, that dumb bitch, to crushing and outlawing and ducking a witch, force-feeding prisoners and putting alkies in a barrel, old Crazy Bob and his knives, placing women in peril. The Brazilians with their perch, the Viet Cong and their traps, watching Synanon face its inevitable collapse. Piatak, Latumba, the horrors of Nanking, the vampires of Yerba Buena, the wrath of the Burger King. One more turn of the gear as my joints come apart. I think of the people to thank that are so close to my heart. Thank you, Phil, and thank you, Deb, for having us on her show. Thank you to all our patrons we've had, Jag, MX, and Willow. As the pain sets in and I'm about to pass out, I remember Dan's words of wisdom. Sort your fucking life out. So take care of yourselves and take care of each other, and a loud and mighty Slán to my favorite Irish brother.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I love that. Oh my god, that was amazing, Kevin.
Thank you.
That was
fantastic.
fucking good. Oh.
Well, with that said, the whole spiel. Go to all of our socials at TorturePod, Twitter, Instagram, all the other ones. Email us, torturepod@gmail.com. patreon.com/torturepod. You can get, first week free of Cult Leader tier. redbubble.com/people/torturepod for some of this fucking merch.
Beautiful merch.
Yeah. And, all the shit that I say every fucking week.
Merch shop, baby.
Phil,
Merch
before we
shop,
get out of here,
baby.
let everyone know where they can reach you and hear you and your golden voice.
My docile tones of
Yes.
the podcast mogul, if you will. You guys can go all check me out if you choose to. Before you check me out, make sure you leave a 5-star review of Torture Pod, because they deserve it, because they put in so much amazing work. Like, just that Kevin, that beautiful Christmas story.
Thank you.
Kicked my rat song in the ass anyway.
But yes, make sure you guys leave a good review, 5 stars, because this is an amazing podcast. I have so much fun coming on every year for the Christmas episode. Yes. Which, again, you both destroyed my mind. Well, Dan destroyed my mind mentally with the first one, because that's a lot of drama for some people to have in their life. But if you want to follow me or learn anything about entrepreneurialism, make sure you check out Invest in Yourself Pod, the digital entrepreneur podcast, with well over 400 episodes of amazing entrepreneurs sharing their knowledge with you so that you can start your side hustle today and start investing in yourself.
One lucky person might win this anus Invest in Yourself picture.
Yeah, leave a review, email us, DM us on social media. We'll put you all in a hat. Whoever wins gets the anus.
Yeah. Looks like it says invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself.
Yeah, Phil, hopefully we can keep having you come on, make this a yearly thing.
Next year, done. It is
next year
done. I love it.
Christmas time true crime 33 1/3.
33 1/3. I love it.
The Search for Spock. Chapter 3, Parabellum. All right, Dan, what do you we got any words of wisdom?
Yeah, don't do stupid shit in Japan.
Yeah,
Don't join
game shows in Japan.
Don't go game.
Don't go on game shows in Japan.
Yeah.
If you're bored, play a board game. Play D&D.
Yeah.
Play.
If you want some drama, play D&D.
Yeah.
Plenty
of drama
and
in
make
D&D.
sure that people completely understand exactly what you're saying. That make sure for a definitive fact that you're constructing a sentence. Make sure to put new word in between everything you say. Do not otherwise it just sounds like one long.
Don't confuse people
by
pushing your words together.
Yeah, like Phil started strong where he said new word, and then after that, the entire thing I assumed was just one word the entire way.
I was spelling. Oh my god, I'm never.
It was
this
just
down.
one entire word after that. I can imagine.
The use of space is now obsolete. Filled in with new word. All right, last thing before we go, Dan and I are going to take a small break for the new year. Just an extra 2 weeks. So no episode on the 7th. We'll return January 21st, 2024 with brand new episodes. Oh, man, 2024. Fuck. I can't believe it.
I might finally
Merry
get
Christmas.
around next year to writing an episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. It's been a year and a half, so we'll see. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Super Saturnalia, Radical Ramadan, Joyous Kwanzaa. If I forgot anything, fill it in on your own. Have a happy and safe New Year's. If you plan on partying, please do so responsibly. No drinking and driving, please. 2023, great year for us. Thank you all for that. Let's make 2024 even better. All right?
Happy
all right,
birthday,
guys. Have a good
Jesus.
New Year. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.